Hello and good morning. Good Monday morning. Today is April the 24th, and welcome to this, your weekly reading. How's everyone feeling? I mean, last week we came through a solar eclipse, Mercury went retrograde, and last night we had a solar storm. And that solar storm was supposed to come in between a 4 and a 5, and it came in at a KP8. How many people felt that? How many people experienced that? How many people are feeling the effects of that today? A lot of people that experience arthritis, depression, migraines, just to name a few, oftentimes they act almost like a weather vane for solar events. So yeah, pay attention to what's going on in the sky, because it's not just what's going on down here on Mother Earth. We are earthbound creatures, but that doesn't mean that we're not affected by the energies. So speaking of energies, let's get started with this week's readings. Okay, for those of you who are returning, thank you so much for returning. A very warm welcome to each and every one of you. As you can see, I am still in my temporary location. My microphone's sticking out. I've got stuff just crammed in here. It's lots of fun. Funny noises happening outside and around me. My camera's not quite lined up, and I still look like I'm glowing blue. All right, for those of you who are new here, a very warm welcome to each and every one of you. Quick explanation as to how the weekly readings work. Each Monday, I jump on and I record a video on Monday mornings. And what I do is I ask you to go into a very light meditative state. And from that state, I ask you to intuitively select one of 3 rocks, gems, or trinkets that I'm going to be presenting to you. So the rocks, gems, or trinkets are presented to you after I just use a few words to help you to relax and get in touch with your intuitive side. And when we choose things from an intuitive place rather than from a conscious place, there is something bigger than ourselves that helps us to make that decision. Okay, so from an intuitive place, I have already assigned this week's rocks, gems, or trinkets to 3 decks of cards. So I actually do 3 separate readings each Monday. And yeah, that's where we're at. I will put timestamps down below for you as well. These are general readings. And as well, one last point. When you select, oftentimes what people will tell me is, oh, I was really, really drawn to number 1, but then you presented number 3, and then I selected number 3 and it resonated with me, but I was still drawn towards number 1. So by all means, if that happens to you where you're drawn to one and then you select a different one because it feels like that draw is stronger, by all means, watch more than one reading, because oftentimes at least 2 of the readings have similar energies in them with slightly different messages. So by all means, from the timestamps, pick more than one. Okay, let's get started with going into a light meditative state. I'm just going to bring my own energy down as well, bring it into that relaxed state. So take a couple of deep breaths. Inhale deeply. And as you inhale deeply, pay attention to the physiological changes that happen in your body. Pay attention to how the breath enters the body. And when you're ready in your own time, exhale deeply with a sigh, just a and again, tap in deeply to your body as you do this. Begin your next inhale. And again, pay attention to the physiological changes. When we tap into our breath, our body changes. Most of us don't recognize this because it happens unconsciously, but bring it into the consciousness right now. Continue to pay attention to your breath. Each time that you inhale, pay attention to the changes, the rise and fall of your chest as you exhale out. Out with a sigh. Allow relaxation to flow through your body. Okay. So from this relaxed state, if you've had your eyes closed, please open your eyes. And I'm going to present you with the first of this week's rocks, gems, or trinkets. So the first one this week is a piece of coral. Unfortunately, the video doesn't want to focus in on it. It's too busy focusing in on me. Let's see if I do this. Anyway, it is a piece of coral. It's bleached coral. And I found this on a beach quite a number of years ago. It was already washed up on the beach, so it was already well bleached and dead at the time that I picked it up off the beach. So if you are attracted to this lovely specimen of coral, I'll be pulling cards for you from deck number 1. The second one this week is a selenite ball. And again, we're getting a reflection. It's turning blue. It's reflecting. Let's see if we hold it right up to the camera. There we go. Now it's focusing on it. Okay, so this selenite ball has several different gradients of selenite, from almost crystal clear in places to that cloudiness that selenite is known for. So if you are attracted to the selenite ball, I'll be pulling cards for you from deck number 2. And finally, the last one this week is this little necklace. This was a gift that I've just received. Let me see if I can get it up there. There we go. Well, kind of. So it is a little, see if we do it this way. There we go. Okay. There you go. Now you can see it. All right. So this is a necklace that I've just received, and it is a little dragonfly, and it does have turquoise in it, and it is a silver necklace. There we go. Oh, it almost focused. Come on. Try again. Anyway. All right. There we go. So if you are attracted or drawn towards this pendant, the Dragonfly pendant, I'll be pulling cards for you from deck number 3. Okay, let's get started. For those of you who are drawn towards this piece of coral. Oh, it almost focused. Come on. All right. Enough time wasted. Let's get started. All right. For those of you who are drawn towards the piece of coral, I'll be pulling cards for you from this deck. It is the Angels and Ancestors deck by Kyle Gray. Cleansing clear. All right. Let's tap into the dominant energies influencing those who selected the coral this week. I am a little bit cramped here in my space, so hopefully we'll be able to work it out. Hopefully the cards won't go flying onto the floor. All right, dominant energies. Oh, we had 2 cards fly out, but only one of them actually came out. Dominant energies this week for those who selected the coral. Is there anything else? Anything else that needs to be known this week? Okay. All right. So there is only one card that's come out for you. Oh, okay. Shed old skin. You received this snake this week. Okay. This is actually a really powerful card, considering what we've just come through. We've just come through this solar eclipse. Mercury's gone retrograde, solar storm last night. We're going through huge, huge, huge changes and shifts here on this planet. We've got Pluto that's just moved into Aquarius out of Capricorn. I mean, and Pluto being a very slow moving planet spends sometimes upwards of 24, 26 years in a particular zodiac sign. And so when it changes from one sign into another, huge changes and shifts. So for those of you that selected the coral this week, you do have the snake here. Shed old skin. This is about letting go of the past, moving forward, and allowing yourself to grow. Here's the thing. A snake that is unable to shed its own skin cannot grow. It cannot get bigger. And from my understanding, and this goes back many, many years that somebody told me this, a snake that is unable to kind of wiggle its way out of an old skin will actually die, because it's a form of holding on to the past for them. And if their old skin somehow gets kind of tangled up on them or constricts them in some way, it's like the equivalent of us putting a string on or a tourniquet onto one of our limbs. And that actually restricts the blood flow, restricts the growth, restricts the oxygenation, and restricts life in general. So for those of you who selected this little piece of coral this week, this is a really, really strong message. Take a good look this week at what is no longer serving you. There is clearly something out there that is no longer serving your highest good. Let me tap into your energies a little bit more deeply. Okay, so what I'm picking up is that for many, many, many of you, this card is relating to relationships. And a lot of you don't want to hear that, because for many of you right now, you're sitting in that place where you think, things are pretty good. I've got my friends, I've got my family, I've got, I'm well settled. The issue is that you're coming from a place of being in a comfort zone. And when we're in a comfort zone, there's no growth. And remember what I said, the snake sheds its skin in order to be able to grow. So if we don't shed our skin, we can't grow. Okay. And I am picking up that for the vast majority of you, this card this week is talking about your relationships and taking a good, strong look at relationships. One of the things that comes up for me is that we have been taught, namely from religion, but from society as a whole, that family, and blood is thicker than water, and blah, blah, blah. And you have to, family. Here's the thing. If you come from a family that is generally abusive, if you come from a family that is unemotional and is incapable of love, is blood thicker than water? These are the types of really, really hard, difficult questions that we're being asked to explore right here, right now. Okay. Now, in the past, 100 years ago, 150, 200 years ago, yes, family was extremely important, because chances were you didn't have a whole bunch of friends and other support systems around you. Family was important because the only way that you could have enough food to get you through the winter was if you had a big enough family to harvest your fields and prepare enough food, right? That's not the case anymore nowadays. So really, really have an exploration this week of family dynamics. The same goes for friendships. Just because somebody has been your friend since you guys were 7 years old and you're now in your 50s, does that mean that there's some kind of obligation there? Well, there's a moral obligation, maybe, perhaps, or is there? Okay. These are the types of really, really difficult questions that are coming up for me, for you guys to explore this week. Now, that doesn't mean that you actually have to make that decision or cut ties or anything else this week, but it is something that you need to begin to explore. The thing is that when a snake begins the process of shedding, oh, there's lots of big vehicles around right now, lots of noise. When a snake begins the process of shedding, it's actually a relatively long process for them. Okay. And it's the same thing for you guys this week. This is the first steps towards looking at what you need to shed in your life. Well, at the same time, perhaps not actually letting go of everything all at once, because that would be, oh my gosh, so overwhelming. Let's have a look at your shadow energy this week. Now, the shadow energy is the bottom card. So you do have the Hermit here, retreat and recharge. Retreat and recharge. Okay. So this is your shadow energy this week. What does that mean? That means that this week you are being called upon to retreat and recharge and go into hermit mode. But what's happening? You're having difficulty doing so. That's why it's your shadow. Okay. It's not surprising. So what I'm picking up is that what you're actually doing this week is you're practicing avoidance of this. You're being called upon to explore the really deep questions, explore what's no longer serving you, begin to release. Like I said, you don't have to do it all in 1 week, but begin that process of moving forward, begin the process of growth, begin the process of sloughing off that old skin. That includes sloughing off old masks that you've been wearing in order to be able to satisfy others. That just came up for me. If you've been wearing a mask because someone in your family or someone in your circle of friends expects you to be a certain way, but that mask is no longer comfortable, it's time to start to let that mask let go of it, right? Hermit, you're practicing avoidance. This is in your shadow position. So this is something that you need to be looking towards doing, but you're avoiding it. Okay. All right. So for those of you that selected the coral this week, thank you so much for joining me. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope that you'll join me again next week. Okay. Those of you that selected this selenite ball, I'll be pulling cards for you from the Osho Zen Tarot this week. All right. Dominant energies for those who selected the selenite ball. What's coming up this week? Oh, look at messy cards going on in the same way that the energies are messy this week. Okay, we're going to have to go through the deck a second time here. Not surprising. Okay. Dominant energies. There's one. Dominant energies for those who selected the selenite ball this week. Is there anything else? Yep. Oh, there we go. Is there anything else as a dominant energy? I think we're about it. We're at the end of the deck. Yeah. Okay, so the first card that jumped out for you, oh, wow, you've got a duality going on this week. Those of you that selected this selenite ball, you've definitely got a duality going on. You've got the 2 of rainbows as well as the 2 of water. This is the equivalent to the 2 of cups. This is the equivalent to the 2 of pentacles. Both of these cards are representative of the number 2, creating a duality, creating this double thing. Oh, which way am I being pulled? Now, both of them do have very positive meanings. The first card here, you've got friendliness. And this card here, you've got living in the present moment. It's called moment to moment. And this is a card of, take steps, one step at a time. Okay, so these 2 cards together, what this is actually representing, sorry, this card was the first one that came out with a moment to moment card. When the moment to moment card comes up, it like I said, it is representative of the 2 of pentacles. Pentacles is represented by the element of earth in the tarot. And it is about earthly things, money and job or career. Moment to moment. So this is a card of make sure that your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed when you're entering into any kind of contract, which note Mercury retrograde right now. If you can postpone entering into any kind of contract at this time, please do so until around mid-May when Mercury goes direct again. Because when Mercury is retrograde, there are more opportunities for misunderstandings, particularly when we're dealing with contracts and communications. Okay. And as well, last night, solar flare, solar storm, it affected communications as well. Okay. So live your life moment to moment when it comes to job or career right now. When it comes to money, make sure that the decisions you're making are very, very grounded, right? Like I said, this represents earth, grounding, right? Don't be making your decisions from airy fairy places out here when it comes to money and job. Not a good idea this week. You also have the friendliness card here. Friendliness card represents that even though two trees can be really, really different, if they're this close together, guess what? They're sharing nutrients, they're sharing water, they're sharing communication. And it's the same thing for those of us on planet Earth. We need to practice friendliness. This is also representative of relationships. Now, in certain tarot decks, the Two of Cups, also known as the Two of Water, is representative of new relationships coming in, oftentimes romantic relationships. Now, in this particular deck, it doesn't necessarily represent romantic relationships, but it does represent a new relationship coming in order to be able to assist you at this time. This may be in the form of a friendship. It could be romantic, depending on where you're at in your life, or it could be in the form of a mentor coming in. Okay, so watch for someone new coming in who's really going to help you. Now, what I'm picking up is the phrase, people come into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And what I'm picking up for those of you that selected the Selenite ball this week is that this new person that's coming in for you is coming in for either a reason or a season. This new person that's coming in for you this week, here, the week of April the 24th, is not coming in for the purposes of lifetime. It's someone who's coming in, they're going to mentor you, they're going to be a friend for you, they're going to support you through something. I do want to say they're probably going to help to support you through some decisions with regards to work, job, or career, as well as money. And then they're going to be gone. Okay, you're going to share some resources, you're going to share knowledge. And remember, keep in mind that with these two twos here, this duality going on, this person is not just coming into your life for the purposes of benefiting you. They are coming into your life for the purposes of benefiting themselves as well. It will be a very mutual relationship, a very much equal and balanced relationship, right? You've got two twos here, two twos, two dualities, balance. So this is telling me that there's very much a very balanced week coming up for you, but there are going to be situations this week where you're going to be presented with two sides of a coin and you're going to have to make some decisions. This new friend can probably help you with those decisions this week. Make sure you're making your decisions from a very grounded place. Let's have a look at your shadow energy this week. Your shadow energy is past lives. The past lives card. Okay. What does this card represent? It represents the past coming in and niggling at you, the past coming in and you making decisions from a place of the past. Remember what I said? We've just come through a solar eclipse. We've just come through Mercury going retrograde, and we've just come through a really powerful solar storm. What do all of those things represent for us? Change. Big change, huge change, big change. Okay. So if you are making the decisions, like I said, I'm really sensing with two twos here, you've got decisions to make this week. You're going to be presented with two sides of a coin more than once this week, where you're going to have to make really important decisions. If you're making those decisions this week from a place of the past, things might not turn out so well because we've moved into the future. Let go of the past. That's essentially what this card is saying. It's come up in your shadow position. This isn't a situation. Normally, the past lives card, when it comes up in a regular placement in a reading is about look to the past for advice. But this card came up in the shadow position for you. So what this is saying is stop looking to the past for advice. You're not going to find the answers in the past. The answers are in the future. All right. So on that happy note, I'm going to leave off and move forward into the next reading. The next reading is for those of you who selected this pendant, the Dragonfly pendant with turquoise in its wings. And for those of you who selected the Dragonfly pendant, I'm going to be pulling your cards from the Fairy Tarot. Okay. All right. Dominant energies for those who selected the Dragonfly pendant this week. Dominant energies. We got messy cards going on, crazy messy cards. Yeah. And just the same way it did for the first two readings in this video, having to go through the cards a second time, which is fine. It does happen. All right. Dominant energies. There's one. We do have a card sitting here. I'm not sure whether it's going to slide out of the deck or not. We do have one card out. Is there anything else? Any other dominant energies this week for those who selected the Dragonfly pendant? You can see how messy the cards are getting. Oh, one just slid off the top there. Okay. What was that card? Okay. So the first card that slid out for you, it actually jumped out, was the Six of Spring. The Six of Spring is also known as the Six of Wands. This is a card of good choices. This is a card of positivity is coming into your life. But the positivity is not just coming into your life because you sat there in the lotus position going, Om, and willing it and wishing it into your life. The wands, or spring as it's represented in the fairy deck, this is represented by the element of fire or supported by the element of fire. Whenever there is fire present, it is about taking action, right? If you got fire below your feet, you're going to take action. You're going to start running, right? And so this card is all about whatever actions you have been taking, whatever steps you've been taking forward in order to be able to affect change in your life. They are beginning to present themselves. They are coming to fruition this week in the form of public recognition, in the form of kudos, in the form of people actually recognizing and acknowledging the work that you have been putting in. The other card that you have coming up is the Two. Now, I recommend that you watch the reading in this video for the selenite ball. And the reason being is this is a two. Whoops. This is a two. And those who selected the selenite ball also had two twos represented. Pretty powerful stuff. A lot of twos coming up, which means that there's a lot of duality coming into our lives right now. A lot of choices are being presented to us. The High Priestess here in this deck is telling us that we are going to have some choices come in this week. We need to be making those choices from a really grounded place and from a place where we've gone into our intuition. Now, this isn't going into our intuition and asking huge universal questions and getting all up out here. This is about grounded intuition. This is about grounding ourselves, sitting on Mother Earth, maybe even doing some earthing. That's just came up for me, doing some earthing this week. Now, for those in the Northern Hemisphere, might be a little chilly. If you're unfamiliar with earthing, look it up. It's about connecting with the earth. One of the best ways to do that, go outside and walk around barefoot, even for 5 minutes. Hugely, hugely powerful. Given that we have just come through a number of huge celestial events, solar eclipse, Mercury retrograde, and a solar storm, all of us need more grounding right now. Again, this Two of Rainbows, also known as the Two of Pentacles, in the selenite ball reading, was about grounding in order to be able to make decisions from that really powerful grounded place. The High Priestess for you guys has a similar meaning. Go within to your intuition, but make sure that you're grounded when you're connecting with your intuition. I am sensing that for many of you, this is about going into the solar plexus rather than the heart for making these decisions this week. Okay. Insights are going to come in through meditation. That is one of the representations of the high priestess. And it doesn't matter whether we're looking at the high priestess in traditional tarot, in the fairy tarot, whether we're looking at it in the Osho Zen. This is a card of grounded intuition this week. And good news is on its way to you. Let's have a look at your shadow energy this week. The card on the bottom of the deck. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is amazing. This is fascinating to me. I already presented this card to you. This is the card that is the Two of Rainbows, also known as the Two of Pentacles. And remember what I said, that those who had the selenite ball this week had 2 2s in their reading. Guess what? Now you do as well. This is the 2 in the major arcana, the high priestess, and you also have the 2 of autumn. The 2 of autumn is the equivalent to the 2 of pentacles. Okay, so this is a card about making decisions from an earthbound place, from an earthly plane, from a very grounded place. This is about making sure that you are exploring both sides of the coin before you make a decision. Autumn or pentacles, as is the case, is about job or money. It's about earthly things. It's about the element of earth. Remember what I said? This is the card of fire. Spring is represented by the element of fire. Autumn or pentacles is represented by the element of earth. Make sure this week that you are looking at both sides of the coin. This came up in your shadow energy. What does this tell me? This tells me that you may be tempted this week to make decisions, earthbound decisions, decisions about money or career from, unfortunately, an airy-fairy snap decision, not thinking things all the way through. That's what this is telling me, because this came up in your shadow position. If this had come up just in a regular part of your reading, this would be saying, ground yourself and make your decisions. You're going to have 2 choices presented to you. What in the shadow position, this is saying that you might be tempted to make rash decisions this week. Don't, no, because this is a shadow. Okay. So make sure that you're making decisions from a very grounded place. If I read this card, juggling multiple priorities or jobs, decisions to be made, this is about a duality. Okay. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope that you'll join me again next Monday so that we can dig in and look at the dominant energies and the shadow energies for each and every one of you next week. Enjoy your week.